The 1940s were a strange time for car manufacturing. With the impact of World War II halting civilian car production for several years, the decade saw some truly bizarre and unfortunate vehicles, both before and after the war. From oddball designs to engineering failures, the 1940s gave us plenty of cars that missed the mark. Let's dive into the 10 dumbest and worst cars in America from the 1940s. Cars that left drivers shaking their heads in disbelief. Ladies and gentlemen, gather round as we delve into a chapter of automotive history that, while perhaps not marked by roaring success, holds a unique place in the annals of American truck culture: the Plymouth PT125. The year was 1936, a time when the Great Depression was still fresh in the minds of many, and the American automobile industry was shifting gears, with manufacturers scrambling to adapt to changing needs and tastes. Plymouth, a brand typically associated with solid family sedans, decided to take a bold leap into the pickup truck market. The PT125 was their offering, their ambitious attempt to gain traction in a rugged and highly competitive field dominated by Ford and Chevrolet. At first glance, the PT125 might have seemed like a promising contender. It bore the Plymouth name, which at the time stood for reliability and craftsmanship in the passenger car world. But as the truck rolled out onto dusty roads and job sites across America, it quickly became apparent that this was not the pickup that would redefine the segment or dethrone the established giants. Instead, the PT125 arrived as a truck that felt more like a car in disguise. Soft where it needed to be tough, uninspired in places where boldness was required. Let's start with its styling. While the design of a pickup truck may not be the first thing that comes to mind when you think of heavy-duty performance, appearance still matters. Pickups in the 1930s and 1940s, even as workhorses, needed to convey strength, durability, and an unspoken promise that they could withstand the harshest of tasks. But the PT125's design fell flat. Its soft, rounded lines and almost delicate proportions made it look more like a passenger car with a small bed tacked onto the back, rather than a brawny truck capable of hard labor. It lacked the rugged, purposeful stance that Ford and Chevy trucks were known for. Those brands had figured out how to make their trucks look as tough as the work they were built to do. In contrast, the PT125's uninspired styling gave the impression of a vehicle unsure of its own identity, caught somewhere between the refinement of a sedan and the grit of a truck. It wasn't a design that commanded attention, nor one that inspired confidence. Under the hood, things didn't get much better. The PT125 was powered by a modest 201 cubic inch flathead 6 engine, producing a mere 70 horsepower. In a time when power and capability were essential, this engine simply couldn't deliver what buyers expected from a pickup. Trucks were built to haul, tow, and endure long hours of hard use. But the PT125's performance was far from impressive. It struggled under heavy loads and lacked the brute force needed for the more demanding tasks that its competitors handled with ease. Plymouth had tried to bridge the gap between passenger car comfort and truck utility, but in doing so, they produced a vehicle that didn't excel at either. It wasn't powerful enough to be a true workhorse, nor was it refined enough to attract buyers who wanted a more stylish, everyday vehicle. Perhaps most notably, the PT125 lacked that intangible quality that draws buyers to pickup trucks: rugged appeal. It didn't have the muscular lines, the no-nonsense front end, or the get-it-done attitude that buyers in the pickup market were looking for. Trucks in this era were more than just vehicles. They were symbols of independence, hard work, and the American spirit. They were the backbone of farms, construction sites, and industries that powered the nation. But the PT125 felt out of step with this ethos, as if it were trying to sneak into a party where it didn't quite belong. Buyers took one look at its watered-down design and lackluster performance and quickly turned their attention back to Ford's F-Series or Chevrolet's advanced design trucks, which offered the robustness and reliability that the PT125 sorely lacked. The PT125, despite its initial promise, was never able to capture the hearts of pickup buyers. Its sales were underwhelming, and it quietly faded from the market without much fanfare. It was a brief, almost forgotten chapter in Plymouth's history, one that signaled the brand's inability to fully grasp the nuances of the truck market. In many ways, the PT125 was a victim of timing and execution. Plymouth had entered the truck segment at a time when buyers had very specific needs, and the PT125 didn't check enough of the boxes. And yet, as we look back on the PT125, there's something undeniably intriguing about it. Perhaps it's the truck's what could have been aura, a sense of missed opportunity that leaves us wondering how things might have played out had Plymouth taken a different approach. Or maybe it's the charm of its underdog status. While the PT125 never became a star, it's still a fascinating glimpse into a time when even the biggest automakers were trying to find their place in a rapidly changing world. The Kaiser Special was meant to be Kaiser Motors' ticket to success in the booming post-war automobile market. A market hungry for something new and modern after the scarcity and sacrifices of World War II. In theory, the Special had all the makings of a post-war hit. It was billed as fresh, stylish, and a bold departure from the pre-war cars that many Americans were still driving. Yet, despite the ambitions behind it, the Kaiser Special ended up missing the mark in key areas. Its bulky and boxy design, along with quality issues, left buyers unimpressed and looking elsewhere. When the Kaiser Special debuted, it certainly stood out from the crowd, just not always in a good way. Its design, which was intended to be innovative and forward-thinking, leaned more toward awkward and oversized. In an era where automakers were beginning to embrace sleeker, more streamlined designs, the Special's large, blocky body seemed to hark back to an older, more utilitarian era. The styling was boxy, with broad, flat surfaces and minimal flair. While some appreciated its no-nonsense appearance, many felt it lacked the grace and elegance they were hoping for in a post-war automobile. Cars from rival brands like Ford and Chevrolet were beginning to sport the curved lines and aerodynamic looks that would define the 1950s, leaving the Kaiser Special looking rather stodgy in comparison. Inside, things weren't much better. Kaiser had promoted the Special as a comfortable, family-friendly car, but the execution left a lot to be desired. The interior materials felt cheap, and the overall build quality just didn't live up to the lofty promises the brand had made. Buyers who were drawn in by the car's marketing found themselves disappointed by its lack of refinement. The Kaiser Special had trouble competing with the more polished and reliable offerings from better established brands. Ford and Chevrolet had years of experience and a deep understanding of what the American car buyer wanted, and it showed. Their cars were more reliable, better built, and often less expensive than the Kaiser Special. Performance, too, was an issue. The Special wasn't known for being particularly powerful or exciting to drive. It was adequate for everyday use, but there was nothing about its performance that set it apart from the competition. With a six-cylinder engine producing around 100 horsepower, it was far from thrilling, especially when compared to the V8s being offered by some of its competitors. The car's handling was also sluggish, and its weight, part of that bulky design, made it feel less nimble on the road. Perhaps most damaging to the Kaiser Special's prospects was its price. In a time when Americans were eager to get back on the road after the war, price mattered more than ever. The Special was more expensive than many of its competitors, but it didn't offer enough in return to justify that extra cost. Buyers who were choosing between the Kaiser Special and a Ford or Chevrolet often found that they could get more car for their money elsewhere. Kaiser, a relatively small and young automaker, struggled to match the economies of scale that Ford and General Motors had at their disposal, which meant they couldn't price the Special competitively enough to win over the average car buyer. The combination of uninspiring design, poor build quality, lackluster performance, and a high price tag led to the Kaiser Special's downfall. Despite Kaiser Motors' best efforts to market the car as a fresh and exciting option for post-war America, buyers quickly lost interest. Ford, Chevrolet, and even smaller brands like Studebaker were offering more compelling vehicles that were better suited to the needs and tastes of the time. For Kaiser, the failure of the Special was a significant blow. The company had pinned its hopes on this car being the vehicle that would establish them as a major player in the post-war auto market. Instead, it became clear that they couldn't keep up with the bigger, more established names. The Kaiser Special, while not a complete disaster, simply didn't have enough going for it to capture the hearts and wallets of American consumers. By the early 1950s, Kaiser was struggling to stay afloat, and despite a few more attempts to revitalize their lineup, the company would eventually fold, leaving the Special as a reminder of what could have been. The Hudson Commodore was a car that, on paper, seemed like it had the potential to capture a significant share of the post-war American market. With its promise of luxury and performance, Hudson aimed to position the Commodore as a premium offering that could appeal to those looking for both refinement and a bit of excitement behind the wheel. However, in reality, the Commodore fell short in many of the areas where it was supposed to excel. While it had its moments and attracted a loyal group of fans, the car's shortcomings prevented it from truly standing out in an increasingly competitive landscape. One of the Commodore's most noticeable issues was its size. Hudson had built the car to exude a sense of luxury and presence on the road, but in doing so, they made it larger and bulkier than many of its contemporaries. In an era where bigger often meant better, the Commodore's substantial dimensions initially seemed like an advantage. It had the wide stance and long body that communicated luxury in the 1940s and early 1950s. But as soon as you took the car out on the road, that size began to work against it. The Commodore felt heavy, cumbersome, and slow. Hardly the traits you'd want in a car that was supposed to balance performance with luxury. The car's large, weighty frame made it less nimble than some of its more agile competitors. Its 6-cylinder and 8-cylinder engine options provided adequate power for cruising, but the Commodore never really lived up to the performance expectations it set. While other luxury sedans of the era were finding ways to blend power and grace, Hudson's Commodore often felt sluggish. The engine had to work harder to move the car's mass, and that took a toll on both acceleration and handling. It wasn't a car that inspired spirited driving, and for those who expected more dynamic performance, it quickly became clear that the Commodore wasn't going to deliver it. Stylistically, the Hudson Commodore was conservative at a time when many post-war buyers were craving something fresh and modern. Its design, while clean and well-proportioned, didn't push the boundaries of what was possible or exciting in automotive design. The Commodore's body had a somewhat understated, almost plain look compared to the more flamboyant designs coming from other automakers. Hudson took a restrained approach, perhaps in an attempt to appeal to buyers seeking a dignified, no-frills luxury experience. But in doing so, they missed out on capturing the imagination of those who wanted their post-war car to look as revolutionary as the times themselves. In fact, the early post-war years were a time of great experimentation in car design. Automakers were moving away from the boxy, upright designs of the pre-war era and embracing more aerodynamic shapes, inspired by aircraft and the technology boom of the time. Hudson's Commodore, however, seemed stuck between eras. Its lines were smooth, but they weren't groundbreaking. Its shape was modern, but it wasn't as bold or forward-thinking as many buyers expected. The result was a car that felt out of sync with the rapidly evolving tastes of post-war consumers. Despite these shortcomings, the Commodore did have its strengths, and it wasn't without its admirers. Hudson had a reputation for building solid, reliable cars, and the Commodore certainly reflected that heritage. The car was well constructed and had a certain rugged durability that endeared it to a niche group of buyers. Its roomy interior was comfortable and well-appointed, making it a fine choice for those who wanted a quiet, plush ride. For long-distance cruising, the Commodore was more than capable, and its road presence gave it a certain gravitas. But while it excelled in these areas, the Commodore simply didn't do enough to distinguish itself from the competition. Automakers like Cadillac and Buick were also producing luxury sedans that offered more power, more exciting designs, and, perhaps most crucially, more innovation. Hudson was a smaller company compared to the big three, and without the resources to invest in cutting-edge technology or splashy design, they found themselves falling behind. By the early 1950s, the Commodore's shortcomings were becoming harder to overlook. Buyers were turning their attention to sleeker, faster, and more stylish cars. and Hudson's flagship sedan struggled to keep pace. While Hudson attempted to update the Commodore over the years, the changes weren't enough to reverse the car's fortunes. Hudson had pioneered the step-down design, which lowered the car's center of gravity and improved handling, but even this innovation couldn't fully offset the car's other weaknesses. In the end, the Hudson Commodore became a symbol of missed opportunity. It wasn't a terrible car by any means. It had its charm, and for some, it was exactly what they were looking for. But in a market where innovation and excitement were becoming more important with each passing year, the Lincoln Zephyr was a bold experiment by the Lincoln division of Ford, designed to bridge the gap between luxury and affordability in the mid-1930s. At a time when most luxury cars were prohibitively expensive, the Zephyr aimed to offer a more accessible option while still maintaining the prestige and elegance associated with the Lincoln name. It was introduced in 1936, a time when the automotive industry was still recovering from the Great Depression, and Lincoln needed a car that could appeal to a broader segment of buyers without compromising its high-end reputation. While the Zephyr managed to make an impression, its design, particularly its awkward proportions, was polarizing, and it struggled to maintain relevance in a rapidly evolving market. At first glance, the Lincoln Zephyr was striking and different. Its design drew heavily from the Art Deco movement, which was all the rage at the time. The car featured sleek, flowing lines and a streamlined shape that set it apart from the more boxy, utilitarian designs of its competitors. Lincoln was clearly aiming to capture the spirit of modernity and innovation, hoping the Zephyr's aerodynamic shape would appeal to buyers looking for something new and exciting. And to some extent, it worked. The Zephyr was initially well received, especially given its price point. It offered the luxury and refinement expected of a Lincoln, but at a cost that was within reach for many more buyers than the brand's flagship models. However, while the Zephyr's design was forward-thinking, it wasn't without its problems. One of the most notable criticisms was its proportions. The car's long, imposing hood and relatively short rear end created an unbalanced appearance that didn't sit well with everyone. This asymmetry gave the Zephyr an odd, almost top-heavy look. It seemed like the front of the car was too elongated, while the rear half struggled to keep up. For some, this design choice added to the car's charm, making it stand out in a sea of more traditionally styled vehicles. But for others, it detracted from the overall appeal and made the Zephyr look awkward, almost like two different cars fused together. Beyond its polarizing aesthetics, the Zephyr also had its share of mechanical quirks. Powered by a V12 engine, it had enough muscle to satisfy the average luxury car buyer of the era, but the engine wasn't without its issues. Known for being prone to overheating, the Zephyr's engine became a weak point in an otherwise impressive package. While Lincoln's engineers worked to address these problems, they tarnished the car's reputation among buyers who expected more reliability from a luxury vehicle. This mechanical fragility, combined with its odd proportions, meant that the Zephyr never quite reached the iconic status that Lincoln had hoped for. Styling issues aside, the Zephyr did help lay the groundwork for future Lincoln models. It was one of the first cars to truly embrace the concept of aerodynamics, and its streamlined shape influenced the design of cars that followed. It also pushed Lincoln into a more competitive space, challenging brands like Cadillac and Packard for dominance in the mid-level luxury market. The Zephyr's V12 engine, despite its problems, was still a selling point, offering more power and prestige than the smaller engines found in many of its competitors. Unfortunately for the Zephyr, Lincoln's competitors didn't sit still. As the 1930s gave way to the 1940s, brands like Cadillac were releasing more refined and advanced models, which quickly began to overshadow the Zephyr. While it had its moment in the spotlight, the car's design and engineering began to feel dated, especially as automotive technology advanced rapidly during and after World War II too. By the time newer models came out, the Zephyr's once modern look seemed clunky and old-fashioned, and it faded into obscurity as Lincoln moved on to more ambitious projects. One of the most lasting impacts of the Zephyr, however, was the creation of the Lincoln Continental, which was developed as a direct response to the Zephyr. The Continental, introduced in 1940, took many of the design elements of the Zephyr and refined them into something more cohesive and timeless. Where the Zephyr's proportions were awkward and polarizing, the Continental was sleek, elegant, and instantly became an automotive icon. In many ways, the Continental succeeded where the Zephyr had faltered, and it remains one of the most celebrated designs in automotive history. In retrospect, the Lincoln Zephyr is remembered as both a stepping stone and a misstep. It was an ambitious car that sought to bring luxury to a wider audience, but its design and mechanical flaws prevented it from achieving lasting success. Yet without the Zephyr, there likely would never have been a Lincoln Continental, and the lessons learned from the Zephyr's shortcomings helped shape Lincoln's future designs. The Buick Roadmaster, a flagship of the Buick lineup during much of the 1940s and 1950s, was introduced as a luxury car meant to embody sophistication, comfort, and class for the upper middle class. However, despite its aspirations to be a symbol of refinement, the Roadmaster quickly gained a reputation for excess. Its massive body, adorned with an almost absurd amount of chrome, was seen as over-the-top even for the flashy post-war era. While it offered an abundance of luxury features, the sheer size and bloated design ultimately worked against its appeal, making it more of a lumbering giant than the sleek, desirable symbol of affluence it aimed to be. The Roadmaster was certainly striking to look at. In an era when bigger meant better, Buick spared no effort in making the Roadmaster a behemoth on the road. It stretched over 18 feet in length and featured large, bulbous fenders, wide grilles, and chrome detailing that seemed to cover nearly every surface of the car. To many, it represented the epitome of American automotive extravagance, a status symbol meant to showcase success and wealth. But to others, it was gaudy and excessive, with styling that appeared more concerned with ostentation than elegance. The vast chrome accents, which adorned everything from the grille to the side trim, gave the Roadmaster an almost garish appearance. Rather than exuding quiet luxury, the car looked like it was trying too hard to announce its status. What made matters worse was the sheer bulk of the car. The Roadmaster's design prioritized size, and while this lent it an air of importance, it also made it an unwieldy machine to operate. At a time when roads were still being adapted to larger, post-war vehicles, the Roadmaster's considerable dimensions made parking, maneuvering, and handling a chore for many drivers. Despite its luxurious interior appointments and powerful engine, the Roadmaster was weighed down by its own excess. Its heavy steel body made the car sluggish, and while it could accelerate reasonably well, the handling left much to be desired. The car's suspension, built for comfort rather than sportiness, gave it a somewhat floaty, disconnected driving experience, something that may have suited its target demographic at the time, but didn't appeal to those who valued performance or even modest agility. Beneath its bulky, chrome-laden exterior, the Roadmaster did offer some impressive features for the era. Buick was known for its innovations in automotive technology, and the Roadmaster was equipped with amenities such as power steering and power brakes, which were still considered luxuries at the time. Its plush interior, replete with rich upholstery, wood grain trim, and ample legroom, made it feel more like a living room on wheels than a car. This comfort-first approach was one of the Roadmaster's redeeming qualities. Despite its flaws, passengers were treated to a smooth, cushioned ride. For long trips, the car provided an experience of serenity and relaxation, but in daily driving, it was a different story. The Roadmaster's weight and cumbersome size made city driving or tight parking situations a nightmare for many owners, and its fuel consumption was predictably abysmal, even by the standards of the day. The Roadmaster also struggled to live up to its luxury billing in terms of performance. Though equipped with a sizable V8 engine, which Buick marketed as powerful and efficient, the car's massive weight dulled any sense of spirited driving. Getting the car up to highway speed required patience, and once it was cruising, its handling was far from nimble. On long, straight roads, the Roadmaster could glide along comfortably, but navigating sharp turns or congested city streets felt more like steering a ship than driving a car. The steering was heavy, and the suspension, designed to cushion occupants from bumps, made the car feel disconnected from the road. It was luxurious, yes, but in a way that sometimes bordered on impracticality. Buick, for all its innovation in engineering and its attention to comfort, seemed to have missed the mark when it came to balancing luxury with usability in the Roadmaster. While the car succeeded in projecting an image of grandeur, it failed to offer the balanced driving experience that buyers in the upper middle class might have been looking for. By the 1950s, automotive design was moving toward a more restrained elegance, with sleek, streamlined profiles taking over the bloated, chrome-heavy look of the previous decade. The Roadmaster, despite its technological advances and plush interior, felt like a relic from a time when bigger was always better, even if it came at the cost of practicality. Ultimately, the Buick Roadmaster serves as a testament to a specific era in American automotive history when the ideals of luxury were defined by excess. It was a car that promised opulence, but delivered it in a way that was often more overwhelming than desirable. The Dodge Custom, introduced in the post-war era, was envisioned as a stylish and dependable sedan aimed at capturing the hearts of American families. With a name like Custom, expectations were high for a vehicle that would blend both elegance and performance in a rapidly evolving automotive landscape. However, as time revealed, the Dodge Custom fell short of its ambitious goals, leaving it somewhat of a forgotten figure in the annals of automotive history. Upon first glance, the Dodge Custom presented itself as a solid choice. Its exterior, while intended to be stylish, ultimately leaned towards the conservative side. The design features were functional yet uninspired, lacking the flair and forward-thinking aesthetics that other manufacturers were showcasing at the time. While the competition was experimenting with streamlined shapes and bold colors, the Dodge Custom seemed to rely on an outdated vision of automotive design. Its bulky body, although reminiscent of the sturdy vehicles that had been popular in the past, appeared heavy and cumbersome, making it more akin to a box on wheels than a modern sedan. The performance of the Dodge Custom added to its disappointments. With a relatively uninspiring engine under the hood, the car struggled to deliver the punch that many drivers craved, particularly in an era when American muscle was starting to gain traction. While it may have been built for comfort, the heavy chassis contributed to sluggish acceleration and poor handling. Drivers found themselves yearning for a bit more responsiveness, a feeling that the Dodge Custom simply couldn't provide. In a market that was beginning to prioritize performance alongside style, the Custom felt like a relic of a bygone era, unable to keep up with the innovations taking place around it. Fuel efficiency was another Achilles heel for the Dodge Custom. With its substantial weight and lack of aerodynamic design, the car became known for its poor mileage, which was a significant concern for budget-conscious buyers in the post-war period. As families sought to balance their budgets with the rising costs of living, the Dodge Custom's gas-guzzling nature became an unwelcome point of contention. Competitors began offering lighter, more efficient options, further highlighting the Custom's shortcomings. In the context of the burgeoning automotive market, the Dodge Custom's performance was merely an echo of what was to come. While other manufacturers were paving the way with innovative designs and cutting-edge engineering, the Custom felt stagnant. Its interior, although spacious and comfortable, was devoid of the modern features that were becoming standard in rival vehicles. Buyers were looking for more than just a place to sit. They wanted an experience complete with technology and comfort that reflected the changing times. The Dodge Custom failed to deliver, making it easy for buyers to overlook it in favor of more exciting options. Ultimately, the Dodge Custom's legacy is one of missed opportunity. Despite the potential implied by its name, the vehicle did not manage to carve out a memorable place in the hearts and minds of consumers. It faded into the background, overshadowed by models that not only promised style, but also delivered on performance and efficiency. The Dodge Custom serves as a reminder of an era when many manufacturers were still grappling with what consumers wanted, struggling to balance nostalgia with the future of automotive design. In a world where cars were starting to become symbols of freedom, adventure, and modernity, the Dodge Custom stood as a testament to a more conservative approach, one that ultimately left it behind as the industry raced forward. Today, it remains a curiosity, a footnote in the history of American cars that showcases both the hopes and pitfalls of post-war automotive ambition. The Mercury VIII made its debut in the post-war automotive landscape, with the ambition of capturing the hearts and wallets of American consumers. Positioned as a model that straddled the line between affordable family transportation and luxurious comfort, it sought to be the quintessential car for the average American family. However, as the years progressed, the 8 struggled to find its footing, ultimately fading into the backdrop of a vibrant and ever-evolving market. At first glance, the Mercury VIII showcased a design that was sturdy and functional, yet it lacked the dynamic and eye-catching qualities that characterized the era. In an age when other manufacturers were embracing the allure of streamlined shapes and innovative styling, the VIII remained stubbornly conventional. Its boxy silhouette and unassuming aesthetics left it looking like a relic from an earlier time, almost as if it were content to exist in the shadows of more flamboyant rivals. While its contemporaries boasted curves and chrome that turned heads, the Mercury VIII's straight lines and modest trim made it feel like a missed opportunity. Under the hood, the Mercury VIII was similarly uninspired. While it was equipped with a dependable engine, it lacked the kind of power that drivers were beginning to crave. In the post-war boom, as Americans became increasingly enamored with speed and performance, the VIII struggled to keep pace. Its engine, while reliable, offered a lackluster driving experience that felt sluggish compared to the growing competition. As drivers sought vehicles that provided not just functionality but also excitement, the VIII's muted performance left many feeling underwhelmed. Reliability was one of the few redeeming qualities of the Mercury VIII. Many drivers appreciated its ability to get them where they needed to go without fuss. It was the kind of car you could depend on for everyday errands and family trips, a quality that, in some circles, earned it a reputation for being solid and dependable. However, in a marketplace filled with choices, mere reliability wasn't sufficient to capture consumer interest. As more and more manufacturers introduced vehicles that combined dependability with exhilarating driving experiences, the VIII seemed increasingly out of touch. Buyers yearned for cars that not only met their practical needs but also provided a thrilling ride, and the Mercury VIII's inability to deliver that spark left it floundering. Inside the Mercury VIII, the interior was functional but lacked the flair that many competitors offered. Although it provided ample space for passengers and cargo, it failed to impress with modern features or luxurious touches. As rival manufacturers rolled out vehicles equipped with cutting-edge technology, comfortable seating, and stylish finishes, the Mercury VIII felt like it was lagging behind. In an era where comfort and convenience were becoming paramount, the VIII's interior felt stifled and dated. It was not enough to simply be spacious. Buyers wanted an experience that felt rich and immersive, and the Mercury VIII simply didn't deliver that. Sales figures revealed the Mercury VIII's ongoing struggles. Despite being part of a respected brand, it couldn't muster the excitement or enthusiasm that its competitors generated. As the automotive landscape evolved and new models were introduced, offering fresh designs, innovative features, and superior performance, the Mercury VIII's appeal waned. What was once considered a dependable choice became an increasingly forgettable option in a crowded market, as drivers gravitated toward vehicles that sparked their imaginations and dreams. In hindsight, the Mercury VIII stands as a poignant reminder of an era when many automakers were still navigating the complexities of a post-war world bursting with potential. Despite its promising beginnings, the VIII became emblematic of what happens when a car fails to innovate in a fast-paced, ever-changing environment. It settled into a role of quiet anonymity, remembered more for its reliability than for any standout features or thrilling experiences. Today, the Mercury VIII serves as a nostalgic nod to a simpler time in automotive history, an era when cars were often built with solid craftsmanship, but sometimes lacked the creativity and vision that would define the industry in the decades to come. Its legacy is a blend of solid engineering and missed opportunities, a bittersweet reminder that even in a time of great possibility, not all dreams can take flight. The Mercury VIII may not have made its mark as a trailblazer, but it remains an enduring symbol of a bygone era, capturing the essence of post-war America and the complexities of a changing automotive landscape. The Oldsmobile Series 66, a car that once captured the hearts of many, serves as an intriguing chapter in the narrative of American automotive history. Initially launched in the late 1930s, the Series 66 emerged during a time when the automobile was becoming a symbol of freedom and mobility for the burgeoning middle class. It was a vehicle that embodied the spirit of post-war optimism, promising comfort and style in an era defined by innovation and aspiration. In its early days, the Series 66 offered an appealing combination of modest elegance and practicality. The sleek lines and classic silhouette made it a desirable option for families and young professionals alike. However, the onset of World War II brought about an abrupt halt to civilian automobile production, redirecting resources to the war effort. This period of inactivity created a chasm between the world of pre-war automobiles and the dynamic landscape that awaited consumers after the conflict. As the war came to a close and automotive production resumed, the landscape had dramatically shifted. Consumers were hungry for new vehicles that reflected their hopes and dreams for the future. The post-war boom ushered in an era of change, marked by a wave of bold designs, increased horsepower, and innovative features. While the Oldsmobile Series 66 had once been positioned as a symbol of modernity, it now found itself struggling to keep pace with the rapidly evolving market. The automotive industry was buzzing with excitement. New models from manufacturers like Ford, Chevrolet, and Chrysler were captivating the public with their cutting-edge technology and stylish aesthetics. Unfortunately, the Series 66's design began to feel stale and uninspired. Its once coveted lines appeared dated next to the sleek contours and vibrant colors of its competitors. While other brands experimented with flashy designs and integrated modern features, the Oldsmobile stuck to a more conservative styling approach that failed to excite buyers. Consumers sought vehicles that not only provided transportation, but also made a statement about their identity. In this atmosphere of innovation and progress, the Series 66 design was increasingly seen as a relic of the past, unable to resonate with the desires of a new generation. Beyond its exterior, the Series 66's performance also fell short of expectations. As the market leaned heavily into the concept of power and speed, with many cars boasting impressive engines and spirited handling, the Oldsmobile struggled to offer comparable excitement. While it provided a smooth and comfortable ride, it lacked the responsiveness and performance metrics that consumers were coming to demand. In a time when the roar of an engine and the thrill of acceleration were paramount, the Series 66's performance felt more akin to a leisurely Sunday drive than a pulse-quickening experience. The disconnect between the Oldsmobile Series 66 and the desires of the post-war consumer resulted in disappointing sales figures. As buyers flocked to newer models, the Series 66 gradually faded into obscurity. While it had a dedicated following among those who appreciated its nostalgic charm, the majority of the market had moved on, captivated by the allure of innovation. The once prominent nameplate began to feel like an afterthought, overshadowed by the excitement surrounding more contemporary offerings. Yet, even in its decline, the Oldsmobile Series 66 remains a significant part of automotive history. It highlights the challenges faced by manufacturers in an industry characterized by rapid change. The stark contrast between the optimistic aspirations of its debut and the harsh realities of its later years underscores the relentless march of progress that defines the automotive landscape. It serves as a reminder of how quickly consumer preferences can shift and how crucial it is for manufacturers to adapt to stay relevant. In retrospect, the Oldsmobile Series 66 encapsulates a pivotal moment in automotive history, a time when the echoes of the past collided with the promise of the future. It stands as a testament to the dynamic nature of the industry and the necessity of innovation. While it may not have achieved the commercial success it aspired to, its legacy endures as a reflection of a bygone era. The Series 66 invites us to ponder the complexities of automotive design, consumer expectations, and the relentless pursuit of progress that continues to shape the cars we drive today. Ultimately, the story of the Oldsmobile Series 66 is not just about a car that missed the mark. It is a narrative rich with nostalgia, representing both the triumphs and tribulations of an industry in constant flux. It reminds us of a time when the automobile was more than a means of transportation. It was a symbol of hope, freedom, and the American dream. The Studebaker Land Cruiser represents a fascinating yet ultimately flawed chapter in the post-war automotive landscape. Launched in an era when American consumers were eagerly embracing new models that reflected luxury and modernity, the Land Cruiser aimed to capture the imagination of those seeking an upscale sedan. However, the execution fell short, leaving a legacy marked by both ambition and disappointment. At first glance, the Land Cruiser's design was intended to evoke a sense of prestige and sophistication. With its elongated body and grand presence, it attempted to project an image of luxury that could compete with the best offerings from established brands like Cadillac and Lincoln. The intent was clear: to attract buyers looking for a vehicle that provided not just transportation, but also a statement of success. However, as striking as the initial vision was, the reality proved to be a different story. The Land Cruiser's awkward proportions quickly became its defining feature. The extended body, while meant to convey elegance, resulted in a vehicle that looked more like a stretched limousine than a practical family car. This design choice created a disconnect between the intended luxury image and the car's actual usability. With such an unwieldy frame, the Land Cruiser often felt cumbersome on the road, making it less enjoyable to drive than its competitors, which balanced size with a sense of agility. Performance was another area where the Land Cruiser struggled. While luxury sedans of the time were expected to provide a smooth and powerful driving experience, the Land Cruiser's performance didn't live up to the high expectations associated with its upscale branding. The vehicle was heavy and sluggish, lacking the responsiveness and thrill that many buyers sought. This inability to deliver an exhilarating driving experience further diminished its appeal, making it feel more like a burden than a pleasure to drive. Moreover, the interior, though equipped with features meant to enhance comfort, often felt like an afterthought. While it boasted a spacious cabin, the quality of materials and attention to detail were inconsistent. In a market that was becoming increasingly competitive, buyers were beginning to expect not just space, but also a sense of refinement and luxury in the materials and finishes. Unfortunately, the Land Cruiser's interior did not rise to meet these expectations, leaving occupants feeling less than pampered. In an era when the automotive industry was booming with innovation and style, the Land Cruiser's inability to balance luxury with practicality proved detrimental to its success. Buyers seeking a high-end experience were drawn to competitors who offered not only elegant designs but also performance and reliability. Studebaker's positioning of the Land Cruiser as a luxury option failed to resonate, leading to disappointing sales figures and diminishing interest in the brand as a whole. Despite its shortcomings, the Land Cruiser has become a curious artifact of automotive history, symbolizing a time of bold aspirations that didn't quite pan out. It serves as a reminder of the challenges faced by manufacturers attempting to carve out a niche in an evolving market. The Studebaker Land Cruiser is a reflection of an ambitious vision overshadowed by executional missteps, an example of how even the most well-intentioned designs can falter when they fail to meet the practical needs and desires of consumers. In the broader context of the post-war automotive landscape, the Land Cruiser highlights the importance of adapting to consumer expectations and balancing style with functionality. While it may not have achieved the luxurious status it aimed for, it remains a noteworthy chapter in the story of American cars, inviting us to reflect on the delicate balance of design, performance, and the pursuit of luxury that continues to shape the industry today. The Land Cruiser may not have made waves in the way Studebaker had hoped, but its legacy lingers on as a testament to the ambitions of a bygone era. The Nash Ambassador stands as a curious monument in the rich landscape of automotive history, an oversized car that aimed to merge the realms of luxury and performance, but ultimately found itself lost in the fog of its own ambitions. As we delve deeper into its narrative, we encounter not just a vehicle, but a story of aspiration, miscalculation, and the unyielding spirit of innovation that characterized a pivotal era in American manufacturing. Picture the vibrant post-World War II America, an era bursting with optimism and economic growth. The automobile was not merely a mode of transportation. It had become a symbol of freedom, prosperity, and the American dream. It was a time when sleek designs and powerful engines commanded attention on the open roads, capturing the hearts of consumers eager for both style and performance. Into this competitive arena, the Nash Ambassador made its entrance, positioning itself as a serious contender against established luxury giants like Cadillac and Lincoln. Nash's ambition was evident. They sought to create a vehicle that encapsulated sophistication while delivering the exhilarating performance that drivers craved. The vision for the Ambassador was grand, a car that would not only impress with its luxurious features, but also thrill with its driving capabilities. However, the execution of this vision quickly unraveled, revealing a stark contrast between intent and reality. The design of the Nash Ambassador is perhaps the most telling aspect of its troubled legacy. While it sought to present an image of elegance, its actual proportions often felt more cumbersome than captivating. The car's bulkiness, while intended to convey a sense of strength and presence, instead created an awkward silhouette that failed to inspire. Rather than the sleek lines that characterized its competitors, the Ambassador's heavy build gave it an air of clumsiness, rendering it less appealing to potential buyers who were increasingly drawn to vehicles that combined grace with power. Inside, the Ambassador was equipped with features that aspired to evoke a sense of luxury, yet even these were often overshadowed by the car's unyielding weight and awkwardness. The plush upholstery and amenities that were meant to pamper drivers and passengers alike could not fully compensate for the discomfort that accompanied its cumbersome driving dynamics. This dissonance left many feeling that the Ambassador was a vehicle trying to masquerade as something it was not, an effort to project sophistication while struggling to deliver a truly enjoyable driving experience. When it came to performance, the Nash Ambassador found itself adrift in a sea of dissatisfaction. In an era where the thrill of driving was becoming increasingly vital, the Ambassador's handling and power delivery left much to be desired. Driving this car was akin to wrestling with a stubborn beast, one that demanded more effort than it was willing to reward. Instead of the exhilaration one expects from a luxury vehicle, drivers often found themselves grappling with the limitations of a design that had not quite hit the mark. As competitors rolled out cars that offered both style and spirited performance, the Ambassador struggled to keep pace, quickly alienating the very consumers it sought to attract. The market's reaction to the Nash Ambassador was swift and unforgiving. What began as a hopeful foray into the realm of luxury vehicles soon turned into a cautionary tale. As sales lagged and consumer interest waned, it became evident that Nash's ambitious attempt to compete with the likes of Cadillac and Lincoln had fallen flat. The Ambassador, once a beacon of hope, was rapidly eclipsed by rivals that understood the delicate balance between luxury and performance. Vehicles that spoke to the desires of the American public with clarity and confidence. Yet amid this narrative of struggle and disappointment, we can extract valuable lessons about ambition and innovation. The story of the Nash Ambassador serves as a reminder that even the most well-intentioned dreams can falter in the face of practical challenges. It speaks to the essence of risk-taking, the willingness to venture into uncharted territory, to dream boldly, and to attempt to redefine what is possible, even when the path is fraught with obstacles. In the grand tapestry of automotive history, the Nash Ambassador may be a fleeting figure, quickly forgotten by many. However, it is precisely this story of aspiration and the human spirit's drive to innovate that deserves to be remembered. For every dream that does not come to fruition, there are countless others inspired by that very ambition. The Ambassador encourages us to celebrate the act of striving, to honor the creativity and boldness that fuel innovation, even when the final product does not achieve its intended glory. So let us raise our glasses not just to the Nash Ambassador, but to the spirit of innovation it represents. The Fraser Standard stands as a testament to the complexities of the automotive landscape in the mid-20th century, embodying the struggles of a brand attempting to carve a niche in an increasingly competitive market. Designed as an affordable, practical sedan, the Fraser Standard aimed to attract a wide range of consumers looking for reliable transportation. However, its execution revealed the harsh realities of trying to stand out in a crowded field, dominated by more established and well-known brands. At its core, the Fraser Standard was intended to fulfill a very particular role, a dependable vehicle for the average American family. The post-war era was a time of burgeoning prosperity, and many manufacturers were eager to provide cars that could accommodate the growing demands of a nation eager to embrace mobility. However, in its quest to be practical and affordable, the Standard fell into the trap of mediocrity. Its styling was plain and uninspired, often described as just another generic car, blending into the backdrop of the era's bustling streets. Where other manufacturers took bold design risks, the Fraser Standard opted for a conservative approach that lacked any defining character. The result was a vehicle that, while functional, failed to ignite any passion in potential buyers. In a market where consumers were beginning to seek not only utility, but also aesthetic appeal, the Standard's unremarkable design rendered it forgettable, overshadowed by the more striking offerings from its competitors. Performance-wise, the Fraser Standard was, unfortunately, average at best. In an age when many car manufacturers were pushing the boundaries of engineering to deliver vehicles that combine speed, agility, and comfort, the Standard lagged behind. Its capabilities on the road did little to excite drivers or inspire confidence. It was a car that got you from point A to point B, but it didn't invite joy or enthusiasm along the way. This lack of compelling performance only added to the perception that the Standard was just another car in a vast sea of options, neither particularly good nor particularly bad. As Fraser's cars struggled to compete with more established brands like Ford, Chevrolet, and Plymouth, the Standard became emblematic of the challenges faced by newcomers in the automotive market. The company was vying for attention against titans that had already secured their places in the hearts and garages of American consumers. Without standout features, innovative engineering, or a compelling design narrative, the Fraser Standard found itself unable to resonate with the very audience it sought to attract. Despite the earnest intentions behind its creation, the Standard ultimately exemplified the difficulties of standing out in a marketplace that was rapidly evolving. As consumer preferences shifted toward vehicles that offered not just practicality, but also style and excitement, the Fraser Standard struggled to keep pace. Its lackluster sales and fading visibility served as a reminder that in the fiercely competitive automotive industry, it is not enough to simply exist. One must also make an impression. In retrospect, the Fraser Standard represents more than just a mediocre sedan. It is a reflection of an era marked by both innovation and the sobering realities of competition. It illustrates the importance of identity in automotive design, the need to capture the imagination of consumers through bold styling and performance that speaks to their desires. While the Standard may have aimed to provide a reliable, no-frills option, it ultimately became lost among the many choices available. A reminder that in the world of cars, standing out is often just as crucial as being functional. As we look back at the Fraser Standard, let us take away the lesson that ambition in automotive design requires not only a vision for practicality, but also a willingness to innovate and inspire. It serves as a poignant reminder of the challenges that many brands face in the pursuit of success, where even the most noble intentions can falter in the face of fierce competition. In the end, the Fraser Standard may have faded into obscurity, but its story contributes to the larger narrative of automotive history, an enduring testament to the importance of not just meeting expectations, but exceeding them in a way that captivates the imagination of consumers. The Ford Custom stands as a poignant symbol in the tapestry of American automotive history, encapsulating the journey from initial acclaim to a quiet fade into obscurity. Initially embraced by the public, the Custom was celebrated for its reliability and practicality, a dependable choice for families and individuals navigating the roads of post-war America. Yet as the decade wore on and the automotive landscape evolved dramatically, it became increasingly clear that this once popular model was struggling to keep pace with the changing desires of consumers. Upon its release, the Ford Custom quickly gained traction with a demographic eager for straightforward vehicles that could meet their everyday transportation needs. The car's design, while modest, was functional, allowing it to blend seamlessly into the fabric of daily life. Its straightforward aesthetics, devoid of flamboyance, made it accessible, embodying the values of a society that prioritized utility in the wake of wartime scarcity. In those early days, the Custom's reliability wanted loyal customers who appreciated a car that would get them from point A to point B without drama. However, as the 1950s progressed, a seismic shift began to occur within the automotive industry. The era was characterized by bold experimentation, with manufacturers introducing cutting-edge technology, daring designs, and an array of features that catered to a burgeoning sense of style and luxury. Cars were no longer just utilitarian vehicles. They became status symbols, expressions of personal identity, and vehicles that offered not only transportation, but also an exhilarating driving experience. As competitors rolled out models boasting dynamic styling, powerful engines, and innovative features like power steering, automatic transmissions, and advanced audio systems, the Ford Custom's simplicity began to feel increasingly inadequate. The Custom's design, which had once resonated with consumers for its practicality, began to be perceived as bland and uninspired. Where others embraced vibrant colors, sweeping lines, and stylish details, the Custom maintained an understated appearance that, while functional, lacked any element of excitement. Its utilitarian nature became a double-edged sword, serving the needs of reliability but failing to ignite the passions of a public hungry for more thrilling options. This shift in consumer preferences marked the beginning of the end for the Ford Custom. As the decade drew to a close, the automotive market was flooded with innovative vehicles that captured the imagination of buyers. Companies like Chevrolet, Pontiac, and Chrysler introduced models that were not only well-engineered, but also visually striking, incorporating design elements that turned heads and sparked conversations. The excitement surrounding these new offerings left the Ford Custom feeling like an artifact of a simpler time, functional yet forgettable. Sales figures began to decline, and the once proud model was increasingly overshadowed by its flashier, more contemporary rivals. The decline of the Ford Custom also reflects broader changes in American society during this period. The post-war boom brought with it a burgeoning culture of consumption, where individuals sought out products that symbolized their aspirations and lifestyles. Cars became a reflection of personal identity, and consumers were eager to invest in vehicles that not only served practical purposes, but also made a statement. The Custom, with its lack of standout features and uninspiring design, could not compete in a market that was increasingly driven by emotion and desire. As the automotive landscape continued to evolve, the Ford Custom's limitations became even more pronounced. Consumers were drawn to cars that offered the thrill of driving, vehicles that were designed to be more than mere transportation. The Custom's average performance metrics failed to excite, and it became evident that a car could no longer be judged solely on its reliability. It had to also offer an engaging driving experience that would leave a lasting impression. Ultimately, the story of the Ford Custom serves as a cautionary tale about the perils of stagnation in an industry defined by innovation and consumer demand. While reliability remains a crucial factor in a car's appeal, the Custom's experience highlights the importance of continually evolving to meet changing expectations. In a world where the automotive market is characterized by fierce competition and rapid technological advancement, the Custom's failure to adapt rendered it obsolete, showcasing the necessity for manufacturers to blend functionality with excitement. As we reflect on the legacy of the Ford Custom, we are reminded that the journey of a car often mirrors the evolution of society itself. It teaches us that even the most popular models can become outdated if they fail to resonate with the shifting aspirations of their audience. The DeSoto Custom Coupe stands as a vivid example of how even the most innovative brands can falter when it comes to design. Introduced during a time when American consumers were beginning to demand not just performance, but also elegance and style in their vehicles, the Custom Coupe sought to embody the luxury and sophistication that DeSoto was known for. Yet, despite its ambitious intentions, the car's unfortunate design choices ultimately overshadowed its features, leading it to become a footnote in the history of luxury automobiles. At first glance, the DeSoto Custom Coupe aimed to impress with its bold presence on the road. However, upon closer inspection, its oversized grille and awkward proportions contributed to an overall bulkiness that detracted from its intended elegance. The grille, which was meant to convey a sense of grandeur, instead appeared overbearing and out of balance with the rest of the vehicle's design. Rather than achieving a sleek, streamlined look that defined true luxury, the custom coupe ended up looking cumbersome, leaving many potential buyers unimpressed. In an era where luxury cars were expected to showcase refinement and sophistication, the custom coupe's proportions seemed to miss the mark. While other manufacturers embraced graceful lines and harmonious shapes, the DeSoto struggled with an identity that felt less cohesive and more disjointed. The car's design choices, particularly its bulky silhouette, undermined the elegance that luxury buyers were seeking, making it difficult for the custom coupe to carve out a niche among its more aesthetically pleasing competitors. DeSoto had a storied reputation for innovation, having introduced numerous advancements in automotive technology over the years. However, with the custom coupe, the brand took a step in the wrong direction. Instead of building upon its legacy of stylish and groundbreaking vehicles, the design team seemed to have prioritized size over aesthetics, leading to a model that lacked the compelling features that would captivate luxury car buyers. In an age where the competition was fierce and companies like Cadillac and Lincoln were setting high standards for luxury vehicles, the custom coupe fell short. The performance of the DeSoto custom coupe, while respectable, could not save it from the weight of its design flaws. Even with a powerful engine and solid engineering, consumers found it difficult to overlook the car's unattractive exterior. Buyers looking for a luxury experience were not just interested in the specifications under the hood. They craved a vehicle that resonated on an emotional level, one that turned heads and evoked a sense of pride. The custom coupe's failure to deliver in this aspect meant that it struggled to gain traction in a market that was increasingly competitive and design-conscious. As the custom coupe made its way onto the market, it became clear that its design was a significant hindrance to its success. Luxury car buyers were not only drawn to performance, but also to a vehicle's aesthetic appeal. The DeSoto custom coupe's bulky appearance left it overshadowed by its competitors, which offered not only advanced features, but also the allure of sophisticated design. As consumers flocked to models that embodied the elegance and style they desired, the custom coupe quickly faded from their consideration. Ultimately, the story of the DeSoto custom coupe serves as a cautionary tale about the importance of design in the automotive industry. It highlights how a car's visual appeal can be just as critical as its performance and engineering. DeSoto's misstep with the custom coupe emphasizes that in a market where first impressions matter, a car that lacks aesthetic charm may struggle to capture the hearts of consumers, no matter how innovative its technology or reliable its performance. As we look back at the DeSoto custom coupe, let it remind us that the quest for luxury in automobiles is not solely about the features and specifications that lie beneath the surface. It is also about the emotional connection a vehicle can forge with its driver. While the custom coupe may have aimed high, its unfortunate design choices ultimately kept it grounded, illustrating the essential lesson that true luxury must harmoniously blend innovation with artistry. In the end, the DeSoto custom coupe stands as a symbol of missed opportunities, an example of how the right intentions can falter when aesthetics and functionality do not align. These 13 additional dumbest and worst cars from the 1940s show that even in a time of innovation and progress, some vehicles just couldn't get it right. Whether due to bad design, poor performance, or just bad timing, these cars are now remembered more for their flaws than their successes. Which one stands out to you as the worst? Let us know in the comments below.